What is the funnel method of parenting? How should Christians view a child's boundaries with this method? How do we begin to give children rules, boundaries, and responsibilities in a safe and healthy way? We will talk about all this and so much more on this episode of Parenting Matters.
We've learned over the years there's a technique or process called parenting inside the funnel. And when they get outside of the funnel, that's when you got to get them back in. So the world, we feel, views the funnel in an upside down fashion. So meaning you start at a low age, you're at the bottom, and the age rises. So when they're at those early ages, you have all these wide boundaries, as you would with a funnel, and you give them all these freedoms. And as they grow older, you rein them in, and that is supposed to help, I guess, in the world's view, shape who they are and teach them how to make decisions. Material that we've been blessed to have over the years and implemented in our family shows that you invert, that funnel so that it is in this format. So when they're young, keeping those boundaries tight. And as they show an ability to make decisions within those boundaries and that they can handle those freedoms, then you widen them as they get older. I know Michelle can give some practical examples probably from, years gone by with our kids and other stories maybe that you've heard over the years with some others.
So in talking about that, a lot of times when you were saying it's this way and we give them all of those freedoms, well, as the behaviors start to aggravate us or they're disruptive to other people, then naturally we're going to want to rein that in so that it doesn't cause trouble. But that's frustrating to a child to have tasted all of this freedom, and now that's being pulled in because they want that freedom. And so to turn that this way, one example I've used before is with a little one and just teaching them how to play alone and have room time. And I think every family needs that so that their kids can entertain themselves, if they will, or be okay in the quiet. And so you wouldn't take an 18-month-old child and put them in their room because they're going to start opening drawers and dumping things and all of that. And the better thing to do would be to put them in a smaller space, which may start as a playpen for just a few minutes a day. And then as they play and they're not fussing with that, then you can maybe increase that space. And as long as they're not pulling things out and dumping things, then they're showing that they can handle that freedom. Then you open it up to their room. But if they start pulling drawers and things, they're indicating to you that they can't handle that freedom responsibly. So take their space back down, bring that funnel back in until they are content and work within that space. And that changes as your kids get older. So it may be technology. If we just hand them a piece of technology without some boundaries on it, and then they get into something that they shouldn't be either viewing or too much time on it, or they're closing out the family. Well, those are behaviors that we don't want to see in our kids. And so now we're going to rein it back in and try to take that away from them. Well, they're not going to want that to happen naturally. So we need to give them their responsibility with clear boundaries. And if they're operating within those boundaries, widen it just a little bit. As soon as they start to really buck that, then close it up a little bit. It's always this widening and closing that you keep working through, and how they react to that determines where they go with it. So they earn the privilege for more freedom. It's not their right for freedom. So I think when the funnel gets inverted, it really does start with toddlers because they're young and they're exploring, and we want them to explore. And as a young mom, I would be making lunch for my kids and I'd pull down the red cup. Well, it's not a big deal for your kid to say, no, I don't want that red cup, I want the green cup. It's really not a big deal to swap it out, but sometimes that's not always possible. And so then you get to the point of that child wants to make the decision of what color cup they want all the time. And again, the cup color isn't the big deal. It's the child not being able to take directions from authority. So what they want becomes more important than the person who is in authority has directed. And if we play that out into obedience to the Lord, what I want becomes more important than what He tells me to do, then I'm going to be more likely to rebel or buck what He's told me to do, because what I want's more important. So in a toddler, test them. If you're getting a red cup out and they want a green one, test them and say, today you're going to drink from the red cup. If they're fine with it, they're operating great within the funnel. But if they're kicking and screaming over that, that's not an appropriate response to not being able to choose their cup color. So it's very likely, if you start looking at the choices that you give them in the day, you're probably giving them too many choices that they're making on their own. And you need to direct more of what they do, either what they wear, what time they take their naps, what they watch, what they do. I mean, you need to direct a little bit more in their day and not give them so many open boundaries of them choosing what they do and don't do.
She stole my thunder a little bit. I was just going to think the next phase, I guess, of being adolescents, I guess, for us, choosing what they wear. I mean, it was a big one, and not giving our kids the freedom to make their choices about what they're going to wear that day. Until they've shown an ability to handle that and make good choices, not just because of it's a matching thing or whatever. I mean, it goes beyond that. It's beyond, is it warm enough for them to wear that outside today or whatever. But then behaviors beyond that, and them thinking, or if I have the freedom to choose this, then I've got the freedom to do this here or this there. I think I think they all kind of tie together. Does that make sense?
Being able to take instruction from someone else?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, right. And being able to accept what they're being told to do, even though it may not be their top choice or their favorite thing of the day, because that's what life's going to be like. You're going to have to accept things a lot of time, even though it may not be your favorite. And so I think the clothing thing is kind of one that really comes to mind when I think of that age, when our kids were that age or at that age.
Yeah, because then, as they get into those preteen to teen years, their self-expression is really important to them. And so they want to pick some of those things. And, my girls didn't want to be in ruffles and bows anymore, and that is fine. So you open the funnel a little bit and give them the ability to say, Mom, I want to change what I'm wearing. But there may come a time when I say, today you're going to wear this because we're doing this, And if they're okay with that, then they're showing you, okay, I'm mature enough to handle instruction in this way. So you open that funnel a little bit more for them to make that decision, because eventually that could be, as a young lady, it may be something that's inappropriate. And so you want to go ahead and be establishing that in them, so that if they come downstairs and it's not appropriate for them to wear in front of young men, then you can say, no, you need to go change. And they're more likely going to handle it at that point if you've been doing that and opening that funnel slowly.